This table talk is made possible by Rare Weekly, a newsletter from themighty.com. Hello, everyone. I'm Skye, and today I'm joined by...
I am Kat.
I'm Ashley.
And today we're talking about travel. Whether you're traveling in the traditional sense, like you're going on a vacation or some other kind of trip, or you're traveling to a procedure or appointment a couple hours away, this episode is for you. Kat, let's talk about travel. What have been your experiences?
Oh, I have so many thoughts. The first thing I want to say and acknowledge, because I feel like that's really important, because sometimes it's counterintuitive to think, wow, people with health conditions are hosting a travel episode. Great point, Kat. My thoughts are I have not been able to travel more than an hour away for 4 years now. And it just happened to coincide of basically the last time I really traveled was actually when I started at the Mighty and we all got together in person. And I do just want to acknowledge that it like totally blows. And so I'm here for all the people that truly their bodies or minds can't really handle it. So I'm going to leave it there. What about you, Ashley?
Definitely not traveling as much as I used to, since we're in a little bit of a different world nowadays, and traveling has just been inaccessible in many ways. But I feel like I always do the same thing when I'm traveling, which the kind of main thing that I would speak to is if you take like supplements or things like that you can find everywhere, bring what you think you need, but also remember you can get more most places. But your medications, bring more than you think you will need, just in case, because you never know if it's something that you take every day. Maybe your trip accidentally gets extended. You do not want to be like trying to figure out how to coordinate a pharmacy visit across the country to and hope your doctors are happy with that. So bring the things that are going to be really hard to get if you have to extend your trip. And if there are other things like I used to take that like lactose enzyme for having dairy intolerance, and that was one of those things that I actually panicked when I went on a trip to London because I realized I didn't pack enough for the 4 months I was there. But then remembered that's something that is easily available everywhere, and so it was a little bit less urgent. So making sure the urgent things are accounted for is really important.
I'm so glad you brought up packing medication because I have a trip coming up, the first trip in a while, but it's for like I have a thing coming up, so I need to travel and I'm going to be there for a while and it involves a flight and everything. And I feel like I'm, doing all this research on best travel accessories, like what do I need, blah, 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 excuses to, shop instead of actually coping with real life things. But I think what I really need are just some pill holders and a strategy for bringing my cane through security, which are things I'm currently very anxious about. So I really appreciate the reminder about, hey, I can get my vitamins there. CVS exists in other places. I do have an extra tip though for like traditional travel. The thing that has helped me the most is if you find yourself in a situation where you need a suitcase, I highly recommend, if you're able to get one, a suitcase with 4 wheels that can move in every direction. I think it's called like spinner luggage.
Yes.
Game changing.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
I got one of those and I was like, this is one of the best purchases I've ever made. It was so helpful for me because I tend to get with anyone with some type of migraine, the sensitivities of an airport like don't exist. It's so bright. There are so many people. You can't escape the smells, but just being able to like, I love to put my purse on top of the spinner and then just like push it that way so I'm not having many things, and like I also get like really hot, so that is really wonderful. I think the thing that we forget about, so I think you're right, Skye, you brought up a great point. We tend to associate travel with like tangible items, and I think that yes, that matters. But to me, if I had to give my biggest travel tip, it has to do with rest. So I grew up in a family where every single trip was planned down to the minute. My parents still travel that way. They love to have everything, like excursions, and that was wonderful when I was younger. As I've grown older, my vacation philosophy is I want to do absolutely nothing. I want to have no plans because my body's not going to be able to handle plans. So my tip to everyone who's planning something fun: plan a lot of flexibility. Give yourself time to take a nap every day. Realize that you can say no to things that people are doing. My second tip: do not go into a trip exhausted. If you go into a trip exhausted, you're not going to have the best of times and you're going to be in such a flare when you get back. I can't think of anyone with the physical condition where rest doesn't affect chronic fatigue, doesn't affect like physical pain. So I've made that mistake before. Took a trip once, went into it just absolutely burnt out. Really did not love the cat that came out of that trip.
Wow. I feel like it's that meme where it's like, I see myself in this tweet and I don't like it. Everything you just said. Because
Amazing.
as I prepare for this trip, because yeah, it's been, as Ashley said, we're in a different world now. Like it's been so long. Um, the anticipatory anxiety I have right now, through the roof. I've also been trying to plan a bunch of stuff because I'm worried that if I allow myself to rest, I will start panicking or I will become even more anxious. And I'm even anxious over how anxious I've been on trips in the past because historically, if we went somewhere, even to like, if we went on a road trip to see family back in the day, I would get so anxious, I'd basically spend most of my time, at least for like 3 days, just in a panic attack cycle. I'm even anxious about that happening and that causing me to like dissociate and not even enjoy the time I have, even though I'm part of the reason why I'm going is to relax. So appreciate that.
Yeah, and definitely speaking to that anxiety piece for sure. I used to travel when I was crossing the country via flight with my dog Bear, who's an ESA, and I found out that really helped. Like originally, I had brought him along because when I'm at my destination, he really helps me with anxiety. But I actually found out along that journey that airport time, I am really focused on his needs. And that way, all of the anxiety related to travel kind of melts away because I'm focused on what he needs to be in that situation. You know, there's a lot of people, and you have to find airports that have bathrooms for dogs in them. Like, there's a lot of things you have to think about that way. And it was really easy for me to get through that really anxiety inducing travel experience because I had that focus. So I will say he did his job very, very well. He got me through all of that so helpfully.
The one thing I want to say for those of you that don't like have the pleasure of knowing Bear and meeting Bear, he is huge and gigantic and fluffy and so just like melts your heart. So if I was traveling with Bear, I would feel less anxious too, for sure.
I would say most people would agree with you on that. I have had 1 or 2 people who I've been on a flight with who are absolutely incensed by the idea that he was there, but everyone else has been just like, "I'm sitting next to a dog, this is great."
He's so calm.
Yes.
I feel privileged that I actually got to like hang out with Bear and record a video for the Mighty with actually Bear in it. He pretended to be my dog. So really I feel a lot of kinship.
And I think your dog is about the size of Bear's head.
I would absolutely say correct. Yeah, Dachshund is about no. I always like do this thing where we're recording table talk. I'm like showing you things with my hands and not describing it. So what I just showed you is basically Dachshund is like the length of two laptops next to each other. I digress. Skye, what should we talk about next?
Well, can confirm, even from afar and like remotely, Bear and Dachshund, very good boys. Absolutely. But I want to shift gears maybe to a bit of a very mighty topic to travel is not just, what people think about travel like, oh, I'm going on a vacation. For a lot of us, and I know us in this very virtual room, travel can look like going to a procedure or a surgery. Like in this past fall, I had a surgery that was about an hour and a half away from my home. And usually when I've had surgeries, they've been right down the road from me, very lucky. But I had no idea how to prepare for this kind of thing. And Kat, the amazing person she is, was like, hey, here's what I bring in my bag. Also, it might be smart to prepare just in case you have to stay overnight. That thought had not even crossed my mind. If I had had to stay overnight, I don't know how I would have gotten any of my stuff or like comfort items. So, very thankful for that. Kat, what have been your experiences with this kind of travel?
I'm I'm laughing. So I think I mentioned the last episode, but I had emergency surgery between Christmas and New Year's. And like there's always like one thing that my family like pokes fun at me at. A few years ago when I had surgery, they all made fun of me because when I woke up from anesthesia, I literally asked every single person, "Are you happy?" for hours. Like apparently I just cared so deeply about everyone's emotions, but everyone laughed at me this time because I think I overpacked for the hospital. Like I brought like 3 pairs of pants, but you can't wear pants in the hospital. Like why did I think that that was a great job? But anyways, I think you're right. I think the other thing that I would say for packing for some type of procedure or hospital stay is chargers. I have made the absolute terrible decision. One time I had to get an emergency MRI going from my surgeon's office. Why do I have so many emergencies? Going from my surgeon's office to the hospital. My phone had about 10% battery. I was at the hospital for like 8 hours because it took them forever to actually get me in. No way of contacting my family. I highly do not recommend. What about you, Ash?
I was definitely thinking about the fact that depending on the type of appointment that I go to, does change a little bit of what I need to do to get there, like in actual physically what I need to do to get from my house to that appointment. Because I have appointments that are just like, get some blood drawn or, just check in with this doctor, which I'm fine with just going to and coming back and I don't really think much about it. But then I have doctors that I go to, like the dentist, and I have like very severe anxiety around going to the dentist. So a lot of the time, I'll need to take like an emergency anxiety pill ahead of that, which means I can't drive. So it's one of those things that I have to think about what the appointment itself is and figure out what the game plan is in order to even get there and then plan appropriately, because you don't want to be in a situation where you realize like you are incapable of getting yourself back from wherever you went. So just making sure you can kind of like think through the plan on that end as well and just have people, if you do find yourself in that situation, make sure people know you're at an appointment and have somebody on standby in case you need to call them.
That actually brings up a good point, which is to me, the method of travel matters so much. Like for me, I think my anxiety has grown so much in the past decade. And it gets to the point where like if I don't get to have control over as much as I possibly can, like I like just tailspin. And I think for me, like unfortunately driving right now makes me nauseous to the point of just like completely shutting me down, but if I could choose, I would always choose a car over a plane, even if it took me 10 times as long, because I just have so much more control over where we stop and what I eat, and I'm around so many less people. I don't know if you both feel the same about that.
I'm a weirdo. I love planes so much. Cars? Well, I
Wait, everyone, I just must announce Skye loves planes and also physical therapy. I learn so much every day.
well, so it helps. My uncle's a pilot. So I feel like if I've ever had questions, like I definitely had that period of time, especially as a kid, where I was like, and my anxiety like truly started and was untreated. I was like, I can never be on a plane. Something I dislike though, I will say, comes up at airports. I am afraid of escalators. That's something to also know about me. It's not all love for weird things here, I promise. But I do love planes just because I'm like a little kid and I love like looking out the window and I have my like nose pressed up against the window seeing everything. In regards to like feeling control over appointments, wow, that really hits hard because like even like I was saying with that surgery in the fall, I get in the car with my mom and she tried to put on one of her podcasts that she thought I would like.
Oh no, not having it.
And I was like, Paula, this is a you podcast. I can't do this right now. And I made her listen to my, like, luckily she also likes Dungeons and Dragons podcast, but I was like, here's what we're listening to.
I think it's the other thing, being mindful of who you travel with. Because there are certain people that just will exacerbate every single one of your symptoms. And to me, that just means like you probably shouldn't travel with them unless you absolutely have to. Because that sounds like a bad time.
I fully agree with the people involved are so important. I definitely would probably prefer car over plane, mostly because, you know, snacks and bathroom breaks are one of those things that, you know, I get a very unhappy tummy if I'm highly anxious. And if I'm on a plane, sometimes you're sitting there for who knows how long waiting for the bathroom to open up. Or I have to eat like small meals often for my energy levels. And so in a plane, you can't always get snacks. Or if you do, they're really expensive. So I think I prefer that same way of like having a little bit more flexibility and control. Just kind of helps with that symptom management.
Well, thank you both so much for those tips and your insight. I'm definitely going to keep all this in mind as I prepare and try to do some grounding exercises to squash my anticipatory anxiety.
Skye, we didn't say it, but I hope you have a wonderful trip. I do think it's really lovely that you're traveling. I know that it's really hard. I did want to say one thing as a final tip because it's something I've learned and it has helped me so much, which is being communicative about what you need for your health before you travel, while you're traveling and after. I think in the past I've hid it so much, like I just haven't told people that like I can do one activity a day or I can't go out to dinner every day and I can only go out to breakfast, things like that. And just verbalizing it, I rarely get pushback and then I'm just so much happier when I get back. So I think don't afraid to advocate for yourself in a fun setting as well. That's me's made a huge difference.
Wow, now I have some emails to send out, I think, on that note. Thank you for that. If you want more conversations like this, subscribe to Rare Weekly by going to bit.ly/rareinbox. That is bit.ly/RAREINBOX. We'll see you in your inbox. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.